Thanks for tuning in, folks, and welcome back to Wham Talk 1600's Operating Theater. It's the only OR in all talk radio. I'm Dr. Dave Janda, broadcasting from our ancillary bunker linked to our main freedom bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. We're here for you every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern, but it doesn't start and stop on Sundays from 2 to 5 Eastern. With everything hitting the fan, you need to be up to date 24/7, and we provide that service through davejanda.com. I do another 4 to 5 video format shows every week that are posted at davejanda.com. In addition to this 3-hour show, the beauty of davejanda.com, it's completely 100% uncensored. And that's right. See, folks, on every social media platform, there are choke points that choke off information from getting to you. Through the radio, Wham Talk 1600 is the only station in the country that allows its hosts to broadcast anything and everything they have as far as information to the public. However, above Wham Talk 1600 is the FCC. And the FCC has deep state choke points within it that if we go over a certain line, they'd shut down our bunker, our freedom bunker, our radio station that's America's station, Wham Talk 1600. So we go to a certain point and we finish off the points at davejanda.com. Support the platform. 30 cents a day, 30 cents a day. One more time, 30 cents a day. I can't afford it. Really? You cannot not afford it, folks. The purpose of that platform, which it has already achieved for every one of our subscribers, is puts them months, years ahead of the curve. Good example. This past week, there are people shocked what happened in that debate with Joe Biden. Unless you have listened to this radio show, or more specifically, subscribe to the premium service content and email service at davejanda.com, you knew of his mental incapacities for over 10 years. Meanwhile, there are people dragging themselves around the streets of the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, holding their heads going, oh, I didn't see this coming. Everybody on MSNBC and CNN and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the Washington, they said he was fine. He was, quote, brilliant. Every week in our operating room, folks, we dissect current events that are impacting you, your family, your business, our community, and our country, and we tell you what you need to know, and it's exactly what the bought-off lamestream fake media will never present. It's also what the globalist cult don't want you to know. And that's what we're here for, folks. We are dedicated to preserve and enhance your freedom, your political, your economic, your financial, and your health care freedom. Let me give you a little announcement. Tomorrow, I will be releasing a one-of-a-kind interview with former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who is the Assistant Secretary of the Treasury under Ronald Reagan. The reason why this is one of a kind is because these are two seasoned individuals, Paul Craig Roberts, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, and Dr. Dave Janda, who was brought to Washington to be a healthcare consultant to the Reagan administration on healthcare policy, talking about what's really been happening and is happening and will happen behind the curtain. It is an interview that will never see the lights of day, of YouTube, of Facebook. It will be at davejanda.com. And I assure you, that interview, the small number of people that have already seen that interview, listened to that interview, have said, Dave, this interview blows, and this discussion blows the cult out of the water. It will be available for our subscribers at davejanda.com tomorrow, Monday. Folks, the cult is trying to blow you out of the water on many different fronts. And right now, financially, that is their number one goal. They want you destitute. That is not hyperbole. That is not an overstatement. They want you destitute because if you're destitute, you become an easier victim and target of their freedom stripping operation. So you hand over the remaining of your freedoms and your liberties to the cult. Think of this as COVID 2.0, right? Oh, they instituted that bioweapon on you and their bioweapon-laced jab, and 70% of the population said, here's my health, just make it better. Here's my health. Here's my healthcare freedom. Here's my, just make it better. 70%, 7-0. And the 30% of people that flipped the bird to the cult and stood up to them are the people who saved this country, saved this world. Well, this time they're not going for a 70%. They're going for 99.9%. And my goal is to make you in that 0.1% that doesn't take the bait this time. And that's exactly what my first guest today has done. She has, and her group have provided a means for you so that you don't become their victim on the financial front, because that's where all this is going. Adriana Reed has been with the Camino Company since 2011. She has seen it all. Adriana is a specialist in precious metals. She is, I believe, folks, I know, folks, is one of the most knowledgeable and honest people in the precious metals and financial world. Camino, C-A-M-I-N-O, CaminoCompany.com. It's my honor to welcome back to our platform, our friend and freedom's friend, Adriana Reed. Adriana, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, Dave.
Okay, Adriana, you're based in the People's Republic of California.
Indeed.
Yes. So, Adriana, give us your take, before we get into the financial side, give us your take on this goat rodeo of a debate the other night.
Yeah, honestly, Dave, I'm 35 years old, and embarrassed would probably be a good way to describe the debate. I mean, the concern that we have in general, I mean, obviously, we have a candidate who's just not even competent and able to even run a country. I think there was a lot of transparency, in my personal opinion, that it's very clear that Biden is not running the country. He out here, especially, being that I am surrounded by tons and tons of Democrats, is that Democrats are starting to wake up and realize that, Biden really can't be the candidate that they put forward. And I think that's where they are. I also see personally myself, we're under Newsom, and he's making a lot of moves that are giving, kind of just more along the sense that he is moving towards a presidential bid. Now he wants to secure our border. To put it in perspective, too, the dangers of the things that are going on in our country is 7 million pills of fentanyl were seized at our border, on the California border just last week. That's enough to kill the entire country, to put it in perspective. So, out here, we do see there's a lot of, change, and a lot of the tide is changing because they're realizing that, you can't keep going on like this. It's not even possible for Biden to even physically, mentally run the country.
So, Adriana, what the bought-off lamestream fake media has been pushing for the past, they started upping this narrative, starting, I noted, 3 weeks ago, because I have to watch the bought-off lamestream fake media to get a handle on where the enemy is. They've been pushing this mantra that actually Gavin Newsom, they don't mention the fact that there was a recall move against him several years ago. They have been pushing this narrative that Gavin Newsom is loved, universally loved in California for all the benefits he has brought there. Well, if that's the case, why is it the number one state where people are moving out of?
Yeah. To be honest, Newsom is not well loved out here at all, in my personal opinion. I see, like I said, a lot of people who are on the blue side of the aisle are starting to get sick and tired of his policies. As a kid, I grew up here in the Bay Area myself, and it's home. I've always called it home. I always will call it home. But, for example, San Francisco has gone to hell in a handbasket, and there's no other way to put it. Crime is out the roof in the city. Businesses are leaving the city. And last week, he also said something that was incredibly insulting to the Californian people, is that he said tourism is up and people are coming out here and spending money and doing all these things. Well, that's what people used to do under the correct administrations when California was thriving, which is what I had growing up as a kid, is that, I joke that my mom used to let me bike out with my brothers when I was 7 years old, and, she didn't bat a lash that something would happen to us. Having 4 kids myself, their safety is obviously my highest concern, and the things are changing. And to also correct your last statement, he was not under 1 recall, but he's now under 2 recalls. So there's currently an active recall going on right now again against him. But I think people are starting to really realize that people can be paid off, that the well-being and best interest of those that live in this state is what should be the priority, and it is not. Just like I'm sure you experienced in Michigan. I do see the tides will change, because it's not possible to even sustain or keep going on this way.
Folks, we're speaking with Adriana Reed from the Camino Company. So, Adriana, while this goat rodeo of a debate, this goat rodeo of the 2024 version of the 2020 installation operation is ongoing here for the next couple months. What the cult is doing is they're focused on taking down the financial system worldwide.
Yes.
And in the process, devastating and putting in destitutions, if you will, destitution category, the vast majority of the world population. Adriana, you have pointed out for years on this platform that the way in which the system will come down is based on debt, D-E-B-T, and the fact that the debt locally, regionally, nationally, internationally will not be able to be serviced, and this will bring down the system. Well, Adriana, you called it years ago, because just recently, the music just stopped. This is from Zero Hedge. Japan banking giant Norshokukan is to liquidate $63 billion in Treasury and European bonds to plug massive unrealized losses due to their debt, DEBT positions, and their derivative positions. Adriana, this could well and will turn into a domino effect, because that bank is linked to all the Japanese banks and many banks around the world, which are also in if you will, debt harm's way. Give us your take of where we are in this world financially.
Yeah, so I would say there's multiple aspects to the concerns that I have when it comes to the U.S. Number one, our spending alone is an issue within itself. It seems more and more that, we're going to add $1 trillion, we're going to add $1 trillion, we're going to add $1 trillion. It seems to be a constant conversation. While we have money going outside the country under the current administration, while people in our own country can't even feed themselves. And so, it's one thing to say, hey, we're spending money to make our country better, but we're not doing that. So we're building up an extreme debt while paying for other countries to, quote, get better. And that's a number one concern for me. I'm with Trump in the sense that, America first. America always should be put first. We live here. This is where you live, and you should always take care of your home first. But, what we're seeing across the board, too, is we have China, Russia, all these major countries are just getting sick and tired of our debt, is that it's no longer in their best interest to keep our country thriving, where it was in many ways beforehand. We're also seeing the depletion of the dollar, is that when we do talk about a $34 trillion debt, I'm not sure why that is not a concern for anyone in our country. It seems we spend $600 on Venmo and we're going to have the IRS at our front door. Well, maybe we should be at their front door for their spending and what they're up to. But I think that the dollar decreasing in its value so rapidly over the past, I would say, 20 years, we really saw an extreme escalation is becoming a major concern as countries are going to start backing out of holding our debt, and on top of that, also our trade deals and things of the sort, due to our lack of best interest of our own country.
So, Adriana, what has stood the test of time over 5,000 years has been physical gold, physical silver, hard assets, because there is no debt, DEBT. There's no counterparty risk when you hold physical precious metals in your hands. So, Adriana, you deal with thousands of people every year.
Yes.
Many of these thousands, the vast majority of these thousands, come to you because they've come to the realization that they need to do something different than what their paid financial advisors are telling them to, if you will, stay in paper assets. Adriana, many people are, to this point, in spite of all this information about paper, vapor assets, many people are still hesitant about accumulating physical precious metals. I want you to specifically talk to them right now.
Yeah.
What do they need to know that they're not being told?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's three things that I would say is, number one, your broker is going to tell you it's not what you're supposed to do. And especially if your broker has done well for you, you're probably more inclined to listen to them. Number two, people say, well, that's not going to work for anything. It doesn't make you any money. It's just, going to sit there and do nothing. That's number two, what drives people away. And the third thing is that we always, people always assume that going into our industry is a very difficult and impossible thing to do, that it's overwhelming in that sense. So, number one, your broker may have done really well for you, but their job is also to take probably more risks than they are to really play, in some ways, a very conservative purchase. And on top of that, when you buy precious metals, it goes off their books. So just remember that. Their job is to keep money on the books, and the more, billions they have, the more profit they have coming into their own company. So just remember that. The second thing is that, the assets that you carry is that, I'm not trying to make anybody rich. That's not really my job, to be frank, is to not make you filthy rich. My job is to make sure that when that day hits, when just like we saw in 2020, just like we saw in 2008, just like we saw in 2000, just like we saw in 1994, there was another crash, 1987, all the way back really to 1929, and we could even go a few years back if we really want to talk about it, is my job is to prepare you for that, is that everything that you have accumulated, that you have worked so hard for, the risk that you had taken and you did to have success, is my job is to preserve that. And so that's why I'm very adamant about what I do, is that I feel that I'm saving you by giving you this financial lifeboat, so that the system that we're up against, which is, we're in Las Vegas right now betting against the house. They're always going to win if we don't protect ourselves. And so we have to play it safe from time to time, and that's really what my job is. The third thing is they're going to tell you that it's an incredibly difficult process. It is not. And Dave, you order with us directly, so you understand the process is, it's a quick phone call. Turnaround times are we have them going very quickly as possible, and you get physical precious metals delivered to your home so that you have something that you can hold on to. My concern with all these things, especially I live in the Bay Area, I'm surrounded by tech, and we're getting bigger tech and AI and all these things going on, is that what if the grid goes down? What if your assets are seized? What if those types of things happen? What are you going to do? Are you ready for that? Are you prepared for that? And I always say, prepare for the worst, and then we give the rest to God, and we hope that, things don't get as bad, that we can come together as a country, that we can unite. But I always want you to be prepared for whatever is ahead of us.
And folks, we're speaking with Adriana Reed from the Camino Company, CAMINO, CaminoCompany.com. Adriana, what are you seeing from people on the street? By that I mean, you have a merchant presence,
yes.
if you will, a store,
yes, we do.
a facility. What are you seeing? Are you seeing people coming in droves and selling grandma's gold that she held for 20 years now past, or are you seeing people coming in saying, you know what, things don't seem right, I got to get some protection? What are you seeing?
Here's what I'll say, is that there is a generation that we are seeing kind of pass away, and the gold is getting handed down to the next generation. And the thing about the generation that is passing away, there's so much that we can learn from them. I just lost my grandmother actually a week and a half ago. She was 99 years old and full of so much wisdom that she gave our family. So, one of the things that she always had this knowledge of the things that she has been through. And especially being in this country, as Americans, we're so spoiled by our freedoms and our liberties, and they're not free. And so, the thing that I always say is, just in the general sense of things, is when somebody can pass down that knowledge, you should take it in. So as people start walking into our office, we have those that are coming in, and we have tons and tons of Californians are starting to come in and buy precious metals because they say, hey, something is not right. And I agree wholeheartedly with them. Then we also have those that have inherited this gold and silver. They step foot in our office and they go, hey, I think I want to sell this. And then I give them a little bit perspective, a little bit of a conversation, and they walk right out the door keeping the gold and the silver. People are not stupid, and that's the problem is with the assumption, in my opinion, that the Biden administration is that they're trying to make us out like we're all stupid, that the economy is doing well. You're an idiot. That's not true. The numbers show that we're doing well. Drink the Kool-Aid. And I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, and I'm encouraging everybody to not drink the Kool-Aid, that this is our country. This country was founded for the American people, not for the politicians, and it's our time to take our country back.
So it's interesting. People who get this inherited wealth, who don't do the research behind the wisdom of grandma or grandpa or mom or dad or aunt or uncle or whatever their relative was, comes in, you would make more money if they sold to you and then you resold to people who know what the value of the real store of value is in the world, gold and silver. But when you give them a little bit of education, they say, thanks very much. I think I'll keep what I got.
Yeah.
That's an incredible testimonial to the power of fact, data, information. And it's a testimonial to you and your entire company, because many other companies would say, hey, hand it over. I mean, hand it over. And by the way, we're going to give you a lousy price for it, but hand it over and then flip it and sell it. And I give you a lot of credit for that, Adriana. And I know it's true because I was contacted by somebody who did just that. They contacted you and said they wanted to sell because they had inherited X amount of gold and silver. And you said, well, let's talk about this. This is what I was told. And you educated them. And they decided, you know what? It's best I hold on to this. And unfortunately, Adriana, you're 1 in a million. You should be 1 million out of 1 million. But you and your organization are 1 in a million. And I thank you. I sincerely thank you for being there to help people. And in our last couple minutes, as you mentioned, one of the raps is, well, it's hard. It's hard. We got a minute. Mm-hmm. We got a minute. Yeah. It's a phone call away, isn't it? From people preserving their financial stability. We got a minute, Adriana.
Absolutely. So give us a call at 800-348-8001.